What is up, everybody? This is Lyle with No Hippie Barbecue, and what I'm going to be doing today is going to be a review, or more or less a comparison between the Camp Chef Woodwind and the Traeger Pro Series 22 Pellet Grills. About a year ago, Camp Chef sent me both the Camp Chef Woodwind and the Traeger grills to do a review on, and they asked me to be totally unbiased. I did a preview on those grills, and a couple comments on there felt that I was being a little more biased towards the Camp Chef. So in this particular video, what I'm going to be doing is just talking straight facts on this. So there's not going to be any opinions, although I do have opinions on both of these smokers, good and bad towards both, that will be eliminated from this video. If you want to know what my opinion is, just leave it in the comments below. I may go ahead and do a more detailed review on what my opinions are as far as both of these smokers go. As far as my background goes, just so you know where I'm coming from, I have obviously have these two pellet grills. I have an offset smoker, a Weber Smoky Mountain smoker. I have a pit barrel cooker. I have a master built electric smoker, and 22 and 26 inch Weber kettle grills. Anyway, like I said, we're going to be taking the opinions out of this. Sort of like Randy Moss said, we're not going straight cash, homie, but we're going straight facts on these. So anyway, let's get over to these grills. So before I get into this review or comparison of these two smokers, the first thing I want to mention is that I really enjoy cooking on both of these, and you really can't go wrong with either one of these, but there are some facts that do distinguish these from each other. So let's go ahead and get into that. So as insignificant as it seems, let's talk about these pellet hopper lids. This pellet hopper lid is quite a bit bigger on the Camp Chef than it is on the Traeger Pro 22. The one good thing about this is that this can actually be used as a shelf. So this is what the inside of the pellet hopper looks like. This is a 22-pound pellet hopper. Now it does have this honeycomb thing at the bottom of that. I do have an opinion on that, but I'll allow you to make your own opinion on that. But 22 pounds is good enough to pretty much go all night. Now this is the Traeger pellet hopper and the lid on this. As you can see that the lid on this is a lot smaller. You can put a few small items on that, so it's not completely unusable. Now let's take a look inside the hopper. So as far as this pellet hopper goes, there's no protective grates in there or anything like that, and this holds 18 pounds, so 2 pounds less than the Camp Chef Woodwind. Now this is the Camp Chef Woodwind control panel. I'm not going to really get into the control panel because a lot of that is going to be opinion, but one thing about this Camp Chef Woodwind is it has this probe temperature button that you can push in or out, and what that'll do is it'll allow this to read either the temperature of the food or the temperature of the grill. So this is the Traeger control panel. We're not going to get into the control panel like I said before, but one thing you will notice is it does have two probes that come with it. Now, as far as checking the probes on it, the only way to check what the probe temperatures are is to push this silver button here. And once you pull your finger off of that button, it's going to go back and read the regular grill temperature. So there is no way that you can just have this show any probe temperatures. Now, like we mentioned earlier, the Camp Chef Woodwind does come with one meat probe, and there's a probe entry point on this Camp Chef Woodwind, and it's basically a metal flange, and you would just run your probe right through that. Now the Traeger does come with two meat probes, and this would be your probe entry point on this right here. So it's basically a silicone I don't know, a stopper that you would just basically, you'd have to poke your probes through that, then they would enter the grill through that. Now this is the inside of the Camp Chef Woodwind. This has 811 square inches of cooking space, so you have a top rack if you want, you have the bottom rack. One thing I want you to note is this bottom rack sits a little bit lower than the outside rim of this, so you're not going to really have a lot of play as far as that grill grate goes. Let's go take a look at the Traeger. Now this is the inside of the Traeger. We have 572 square inches of cooking space. This also has a top rack as well, And this grill grate, rather than sitting down a little bit lower, sits right on top of these edges, so you do have a little bit more play in there. Now the Camp Chef and the Traeger are almost identical as far as any removable parts as far as the grills go. One thing I will tell you is this fire pot in the Camp Chef does look like this heating rod sticks out a little bit more than a quarter of an inch on this smoker, and one thing that I think that helps with is recovery time. So if you're running at 275 degrees on this Camp Chef, open up the lid and then shut the lid, the amount of time it takes for it to recover back to that temperature you originally started off on is a lot faster than the Traeger, and I think it's because of that rod. I'm not 100% sure. Another thing that you get with the Camp Chef Woodwind is you do have an ash removal system, and I'll go ahead and open that now so you can take a look. So once this gets filled up with ash after a cook, all that you do is there's a little latch, and that'll dump your ashes into a little cup below it. So what we're looking at now is the Traeger fire pot. Basically the same design. One thing that you will notice is that there is not a rod that's actually sticking into that fire pot. Like I said, I'm not sure if that is why the Camp Chef recovers faster, but that's the only reason that I can see, because everything else almost seems to be about the same. Now when it comes to these two smokers, as far as smoking food goes, I don't think that you can go wrong with either of these two smokers. They both put out good food. I use both of them all the time. Now, the one thing that does set this Camp Chef Woodwind apart from the Traeger Pro 22 is you do have this side sear box. As a matter of fact, I would venture to say that I have used this sear box more than the actual smoker itself. So guys, that is my review or comparison between the Camp Chef and the Traeger. I do have opinions, but like I said, we are going to leave this video opinion free. If you'd like to know what my opinions are, leave them comments in the description below. I'll get around to doing a video on what my opinions are, but for now, just want to deal with straight facts. Like I stated earlier in this video, listen, you cannot go wrong with either of these smokers. I do think that one thing that kind of sets these apart, and this is just a fact, it's not an opinion, is this does have a side sear box on it. It does cook to 900 degrees. You can use this sear box, you know, when you're not using your smoker. So I think that does kind of set that apart. Anyway, I do want to thank you guys for stopping by No Hippie Barbecue. I do appreciate it. Comment, subscribe, and I'm out.